Hey guys, it's Scott. Welcome back to the Monster Lab. Today we're going to be doing some assignment feedback on our thematic focal points. Alright, let's get to it. As you'll recall, I asked you to choose some elements from your character that signifies something thematically important to that design, and then fill out a sheet where you further iterate on those ideas. The element you choose is up to you. It can be heads, hands, weapons, piece of costume, whatever you think is an important element for communicating the theme of your character.
To check out even more critiques like this, and to beef up your monster design skills, head over to proko.com/monsterlab to get the premium course. It has a lot more lessons, demos, assignments, and critiques to help you become a better concept designer. Okay, now let's jump in.
First up is Andre Camargo. So it looks like you chose to focus on some heads specifically, some types of arms, and some weapons. This one, these hands I like a lot. This one thing I just want to point out to everybody is the attempt to make these look a little more organic. Like I can tell you were looking at some reference here, some actual tree roots. This feels like the bottom of a banyan tree if you've ever seen one of those. But it pushes it beyond just a basic hand. Like this here, that's just a study of a hand, which is not wrong, but it is less interesting to me. Whereas this one here would make a really good base if you're going to put someone down in the 3-point stance. That one's very interesting, exciting. And this one here too, which kind of makes you think of like an octopus or something, a little more alien. I still definitely understand that it is a hand, but I also just find it to be more interesting than this one here. So let's put a star next to that guy. Pretty cool. This one here, pretty cool. I can't tell if this is like a peg leg or a weapon. I'm just going to move past that one. This is cool, Andre. I think I know what you're doing here. Like the vine arm is coming down and wrapping around the shaft of the weapon to create a kind of unconventional hand, but it's still, doing all the work a hand does. It just looks a little bit cooler, and it's more in line with the idea of the concept of a creature made from plants. Weapons are okay. I mean, they're not like poorly drawn, but they're a bit more just like studies of weapons from reality. They don't necessarily feel like they are, bringing together or expressing any new ideas. It's just like a study of a kukri knife, study of a dao, the blade, the dao, study of some kind of scimitar or katana and a mallet. The closest one, the mallet with the nails in it, is kind of cool. That's an interesting idea. I think what you'd want to do is find a way to combine these things, do the, vines, taking these vines and combining it with your kukri knife to create some kind of like a spear almost, or like a pole weapon. So, taking the two ideas, the vines wrapping around and the kukri knife, and putting them together now gives us something, just a little more unique that might be a good weapon for like a striker archetype or like a wizard kind of character. You get a staff out of it. Or same with the mallet. You could create like an interesting flail. So make the vine comes out in the arm. You take your hammer. This could be cool. I can see this working in a game like a Elden Ring or whatever, some kind of Dark Souls sort of game. Drag this heavy weapon that's like lashed into its limbs. And then I'm going to switch tools here because I don't want the diameter shift anymore. Like, when I'm using that. Now I'm using my round filbert, and so it keeps keeps the diameter, the width of the stroke is consistent no matter what. You see that? Or when I'm doing vines or like tails, really organic stuff, then I'll move to something that has a diameter shift, right? Because that's how tails work and that's how vines work. But something like a hose for us, or like a wire, it's man-made, it's consistent. Anyways, and same with like a nail. Your brain will pick up on those little cues. That's the kind of attention to detail and shapes that I am typically advocating for with students. Just to pay attention to stuff like that. So here's your nails. These hit stuff with these. So what would happen if you actually whack something with these nails like that? They're going to bend. If you have them all straight like this, to me, it's kind of less of a story there. This feels more consistent with the rest of the character design. He's kind of wild and misshapen and organic. You really want to get hardcore. make a new layer, put that on, and then I can move it around. When I'm bringing in it like an addition and maybe trying something I'm not 100% sure about, I'll create a new layer in that case, as opposed to just, working directly into the shapes. It allows me to build things up a little more. But here, I don't like the tangent that's occurring with this vine, so I'm going to grab that vine. A really gross little touch I'll do sometimes on stuff like this, like a little bit of hair. It's like someone got brained. Anyways, so my point there, Andreas, was I think you could push the weapon ideas quite a bit, and that's the whole point of this thematic focal points exercise, is to do stuff like I just did there, is to like push something beyond your initial conception and see where it can go. I let the weapons be the star of the show temporarily, and that allows me to just bring all my, sort of mental faculties, like all my ideas and my efforts to that one problem for a minute. And then usually that means you're going to get something better out of it. You're juggling less variables, less ideas. I'm not thinking about the characters posing at that moment. I'm not thinking about their face or their costume or their role. Or I guess I was thinking about the role a little bit. Yeah, because I'm thinking of what type of, like say on the tank character or a warrior character, something like the big flail, a big, vine arm with a giant mallet in it that they can swing and, smash around like a flail is a good fit for a character like that. Where something like this staff is probably a better fit for a, some kind of caster class or a skilled, quick striking fighting class. And so, okay, given that now actually gets me thinking, I'm going to take this vine arm. I'm going to increase the size of the hammer because the mallet to make it just a little more fun. If it was a tank character, move around that way. Yeah, so there you have it. On the weapons, they seem to have gotten the short end of the stick in terms of like the intent of this part of the exercise, to like let them stand alone temporarily and be evaluated and developed individually. But you're doing it well in the arms, doing it pretty dang well in the heads. They got a lot of love. It's cool to see, and you push them down a lot of different paths with some very clear directions. Like I can tell a lot of it seems more like cultural. The sort of samurai thing is pretty clearly stated. So good job, Andre. Nice work, man. I look forward to seeing the results of the next assignment. Okay, guys, next up is Samuel Lemons. Samuel has been extremely productive throughout the entirety of the course and has really gotten a hang for the shadow shapes, for capturing the shadow shapes in 2D while he's drawing in pencil. This one is not necessarily as well done, to be honest. I think all the rounded shapes are kind of getting lost on you. But so let's go ahead and open up some of those. Looks like not a lot for the post, just here are the rest of the thematic focal points and updated character designs. I'm going to focus on your gorilla guy specifically right now. I liked him. He's pretty fun. And the arms. So you got the gist of it. I didn't necessarily go very especially far with the assignment, but it's okay. Let's start with the heads. What seems to be the final result. I liked these heads quite a bit. Like this is what I'm talking about. A lot like Andre's, where he's really trying some different directions. I like how clear these are. These attempts at these spider mandibles and just crazier faces in general. Some of these remind me of a really cool, one of my favorite saber-toothed predators. It's an opportunity for me to talk about saber-toothed cats. Sick. See, it's called Xenosmilus. This is a sick name too. Its skull, its incisors are really unique. The teeth in the front, these ones. Most predators have big canines, right? We all know that. But this one had these massive, they're like pegs. These incisors they're huge. More like you'd see on a sea lion. Watch. So like look at the teeth on the front of this is like a stellar sea lion or something. They're pretty chunky, like pegs. And that Xenosmilus is the same thing. These are even wider. There's really big, fat triangles. They must have caused hell of a lot of damage. Anyhow, really cool creature. Really scary, actually. What I noticed for some of these, though, Sam, is it's like you just took a gorilla skull and you just slapped on some other eyeballs. And it hasn't affected the bone structure very much. It's more superficial. Where I think what you'd want to do is, basically change the bone structure a bit. You got that big brow ridge, and that big mandible on the gorillas. Okay, so doing those big teeth. That big brow ridge. Maybe this one over here projects as an eye. This one has an eye. This is actually the time I'll do it for the sake of the lesson. This is when you should lean on some of your reference. Like go to the internet. So I'm thinking about spiders, tarantulas and stuff. I have a pretty good, understanding or like picture in my mind. But if you really want to do a good job, you should take the time to slow down and go look. So let's look up like a wolf spider or something. Yeah, they're too cute actually. It's kind of funny. Spider eyes instead. Surprisingly, some spiders look cute. Okay, so you don't just want to grab any spider eye. I think we might have talked about this before. You want to grab the spider eyes that draw your attention, that you think are coolest, that stand out, you think can help you push your design. It's like curating your reference. Too often what I see with students is they'll look for the reference, they'll just type in their sort of key terms and just grab stuff that pops up, and then their art reflects that. You need to make choices in art. Part of maturing as an artist is learning how to navigate the infinite choices in front of you. And use like your own taste, like as it becomes clear to you what your tastes are, use those to guide you. So here I'm looking for something that has maybe a bit more of an aggressive feel, maybe a tiny bit skeletal, like the skull, a little bit alien, not too cute. Something about this one I like. So I'm gonna grab that open on my second monitor. I'm gonna try to let it guide me a bit. So I notice, okay, there's like two primary eyes, a secondary set kind of further back, and a little pair here. It gives me kind of like faux nostrils, actually. It's kind of cool. And spiders have 8 eyes typically. I've done 10. So I'm going to leave it as 10 though, because this is like kind of an alien creature. And maybe that'll help it look a little less explicitly like a spider. Get that big sagittal crest. Basically like a big ridge, like a keel on a ship. And it's so muscles in the jaw could anchor onto it. Like basically so gorillas can chew up bamboo and leaves and so they need super strong jaws to be able to eat that stuff. So there are big muscles that latch onto that, and then muscles in the neck too. And saber-toothed cats have the same thing actually. The older ones, like the more specialized they became over time, the longer the saber-tooth adaptation had been present, the larger that crest becomes up here. You see it right there. Big ass muscles. You can get a ton of bite force to pull that lower jaw up. Ooh, dead. Woolly mammoth dead. Anyways, okay, so I like it, Sam. I think you could push it right now. You notice I just kind of like pulled on the face a bit, to make it a little more of a more subtle or sophisticated hybrid. I talk about this a lot in creature when I'm doing creature design, talking about creature design. The early days of creature design are, if you look at the art people were creating, I guess specifically in like the medieval era, the creature designs are pretty ridiculous. It's like fish head, boar head on fish. It's like one part from this animal, one part from this animal. Smack it together. And there's like a term, it's like also the name of a fantasy creature. We'll use a chimera when something is chimeric. A chimera is two things, multiple things are smashed together. And as it is, your girl is feeling like very, very much like a chimera. Isn't wrong, but you'll notice in more contemporary creature design, you're going to, because now there's this long backlog, this long history of creature design that we can all reference, we can look at, that we can benefit from. We can continually raise the bar or, push the needle because we have access to all that stuff from the past. We're standing on the shoulders of giants of creature design. Someone comes up with a really sick way of drawing dragons, and then you come up with a way to take that and push it a little bit further, or to take that and then what if that was a subterranean dragon, or what if that was an aquatic dragon, or what if that was etc. So that's, I guess, what I'm pointing out here, Samuel, is I think this could be pushed a little bit more in terms of sophistication or integration. If that's what you're going for, if you want something, me and Alec tend to geek out about, it's a fun thing about our friendship, geek out about retro design, fantasy and sci-fi stuff that a lot of my life as a professional, I sort of didn't allow myself to indulge in because I was designing for AAA, a game like Evolve, right? You couldn't have John Carter white four-armed gorillas and, things with antennas on their heads and stuff that's actually very fun to look at. Goofy, silly, doesn't take itself too seriously. But, it just depends on your product. There's a case could be made for that stuff being cool, having, red gorillas with antennas on their heads. Alex sculpts it like that. It's cool. It just depends on the product. And right now, in the popular culture, there's been, I guess, some resurgence right now. There's a bunch of 90s stuff's kind of popping up, which is fun. Maybe there will be a time when the sort of, I call it the Frozetozoic, that like aesthetic of battle axes and booties, like gorillas with antennas and pterodactyl wings on them, or dragons that look like iguanas with tiny wings, like stuff, T-Rexes that stand upright like this, that stuff is fun. And like Ray Harryhausen kind of monsters, B-movie vibes. That can be super cool. I don't think it works always. I don't think every product would. That's why it's less common to see these days. Because usually we're in horror genre, sci-fi genre. We're typically moving towards like a higher fidelity of detail, greater believability, greater immersion, experience of reality, wanting to draw people into an experience. And so usually we're trying to push our understanding of things and make it feel more real, anchor it. Anyways, but I still love me some old school, spider face gorillas. As far as the mandibles, this stuff over here is pretty cool. I think what you're going to, I think you need to, actually the guys to look at for this are probably crabs or praying mantises. The spiders, what you really see are just those big fangs on these big chunky. It actually doesn't look that cool because of those like big, it's not exactly arms. I don't know the way to think about it. Like just like mandibles, like the big knuckles, and then the tiny fangs come out of it. But it almost looks like buck teeth. It doesn't look that intimidating. Where you want is something, like the praying mantis mouth looks more creepy. Oh my God. Perhaps. I do actually like this one we got to right here. It's pretty cool. Something like that. I'll pull the sagittal crest back. You get rid of the ear, or make the ear more of a hole in the head. Could be interesting. Get rid of the ear altogether, or do an ear that's a little more. Spider goblin girl. That's a bit retro. It's more like something you'd see in D&D. Okay, I'm gonna move on beyond the head, but in general, nice job on the head, Samuel. I think you can push it with a bit more attention to your references. It's okay to pull those aside and have them ready to go.
All right, thanks everyone. And be sure to check out the full course at proko.com/monsterlab, where you can submit your assignments to the community. We've got tons of people submitting awesome designs and critiquing each other's work. And there's still time to submit the next assignment for a chance to be a part of the upcoming video critique. Okay, see you all next time. Bye-bye.